2,700 tons of it. That can only be for making Moab, mother of all bombs.
Obrovské množstvo chemických zbraní tam bolo v tom sklade uložených. Okolo 2700, keď som dobre zachytila, 2700 tón.
And when it exploded, it shook like an earthquake. Everybody said an earthquake. They were running.
A oni utekali. Vozidla boli vyhodené, vozidla boli vyhodené do vzduchu, cesty boli popraskané. Tento výbuch. Dúfam, že nastavenia sú už teraz dobré.
So you can see.
Takže môžete teraz vidieť.
And then today,
a potom dnes,
this past night,
túto minulú noc,
the Lord seeing that we have not yet announced it.
Pán videl, že ešte sme to neoznámili.
Then he comes in the night and puts me into the running again.
Pán potom ma dal znova, aby som uznal. Znovu ma dal do Bejru nad Libanona. A dal ma tam znova a ja som znova tam utekal. A potom on oznámil z neba mimoriadne správy. A my sme prerušili normálny program a priniesli sme vám mimoriadne správy na rádio Jesus is Lord. A potom ja som vám dal mimoriadne správy, som vám priniesol a oznámil ráno. Pretože Pán povedal hlasom, pozri, proroctvo bolo naplnené. A potom? A potom neskôr, počas dňa dnes, potom znova on ma zobral
to Lebanon, to Beirut.
Pán ma znova zobral vo vízii do Libanonu v Bejrute.
And then at that time,
a potom toho času
he now takes me to the warehouse again.
Znova ma zobral do skladu.
And then the explosion, I see the young men who are doing something, making connections there, who are doing, constructing, whatever. And then the explosion takes place and we start to run.
Videl som tam mladého muža a videl som tesne pred explóziou a začala explózia a my sme začali utekať v tej vízii. My sme začali utekať preč. Ale tam bolo množstvo skla. Takže ľudia krvácali, tiekla tam krv a ľudia utekali dnes. A znova potom ma Pán zobral do Libanona približne o 4:00 po obede. Potom Pán mi ukázal písmo.
So this must have been very, very critical to the Lord.
Takže toto musí byť veľmi, veľmi kritické pre Pána. Taký ohromný čas v histórii cirkvi. Ale obrancovia Izraela sú teraz na tvári zeme. Takže poďme začať dnes s týmto proroctvom hneď. Mimoriadne správy. Šokujúce proroctvo naplnené. Proroctvo o agresívnej explózii prichádzajúcej na zem od proroctvo zo dňa 4. februára 2013. Najmocnejší proroci Pána išli na život do rádia na rádio Jesus is Lord. A dali šokujúce proroctvo. 4. februára 2013.
Well, the Lord has spoken with me.
Pán hovoril so mnou túto minulú noc.
The Lord spoke with me
Pán
about
hovoril so mnou
a major event that is coming to take place.
mega udalosti, ktorá sa ide uskutočniť
Again,
znova.
this past night,
Túto minulú noc.
the Lord spoke with me about a major event that's going to take place.
Pán mi hovoril o veľkej udalosti, ktorá sa ide stať tu na zemi.
I see a very huge explosion.
Ja vidím veľmi obrovskú explóziu.
There's going to be a very huge explosion.
Bude veľmi obrovská explózia, ja vidím. V tom sne ja vidím, Pán mi ukázal obrovskú
And in
explóziu.
that dream I see a lot of billowing of very black smoke.
A ja vidím
A cloud of
tmavý oblak dymu.
And that cloud comes billows into the sky and covers a very large area.
A tento oblak pokrýva veľmi obrovskú
like some
oblasť a vyzerá to ako chemické zbranie alebo chemikálie. Vyzerá to skôr ako chemické zbranie.
Again,
Znova.
the Lord has spoken with me in a dream this past
Pán
night.
hovoril so mnou vo sne minulú noc.
There's going to be a huge explosion.
Bude obrovská
And
explózia.
they see the black dark smoke.
A vyzerá to aký tmavý oblak.
And then chemicals dispersed into the air. The smoke disperses into the air. It looks more like an explosion from chemical weapons
Dym vyžaruje
or
do...
chemical. But this is going to visit the earth. This is going to happen on the earth.
Toto
But
sa
again,
stane...
a huge explosion. The smoke that billows from there, the Lord showed me dark smoke, very, very thick dark. Like
Veľmi obrovský oblak prachu. Vyzerá to, že je to chemické.
And then that smoke billows. But there's going to be a huge explosion.
Bude
that
obrovská
billows, a
explózia.
huge cloud of
Obrovský
thick dark
oblak
smoke.
veľkého
And then
tmavého
the smoke
oblaku
disperses into the air. These are
vyžaruje
the
do
signs
oblaku.
that the Lord, the Messiah, told us about.
Toto sú znaky, o ktorých nám Mesiáš povedal. Obrovského súženia, ktoré zasiahne zem v tejto hodine. Takže keď vidíme tieto veci, čo sa stane, my sa potrebujeme pripraviť úprimne v svetosti, prestať s hriechmi, prestať politikou v cirkvi, prestať s evanjelium zlá peniazy v cirkvi, falošní proroci, aby sa teraz cirkvi pripravili pre slávny príchod Mesiáša. Nech tí, ktorí majú uši, počúvajú, že ústa Pána hovorili. Keď tieto veci sa stanú, potom budete vedieť, že samozrejme Mesiáš prichádza. A prišiel 12. august 2019. Jeden rok pred týmto šokujúcim proroctvom, kedy bolo naplnené. Najmocnejší proroci Pána znova zopakovali šokujúce proroctvo a išli naživo do rádia Jesus is Lord Radio.
The Lord Jehovah
Pán Jehova hovoril so mnou dnes
about coming to 1 o'clock between 1 and 2.
medzi 1 a 2 hodinou. A to je urgentné, pretože vidím miesto, Pán mi zobral miesto. Je tam komplex budov na tomto mieste. A potom zrazu náhle my sme začali utekať. Pán ma tam dal. My sme utekali. Ja som si myslel, že to je zemetrasenie. Ľudia mysleli, že je to zemetrasenie. My sme utekali. Múry stien padali dole. Ja vidím explóziu skrze strechu. A keď sme utekali, my sme videli veľa častíc, ako padalo. A my sme sa pýtali, to je zemetrasenie. Ja som utekal tam s každým. My sme si kričali, že to je zemetrasenie. Videl som veľa skla, veľa stien, ako padalo dole. obrovská explózia na streche. Ja som sa divil, že či to je zemetrasenie alebo explózia. Ďalšia budova tiež explodovala, takže sme sa báli, nevedeli sme, kde sa schovať. My sme kričali, zemetrasenie, ako sme utekali. Videli sme množstvo sklákov, padali množstvo stien. Explózia skrze strechu, obrovská. V tomto komplexe budov my sme utekali a kričali. Ľudia hovorili, zemetrasenie, utekali. Veľmi agresívne. Nebolo miesto, kde utekať. Veľmi strašná situácia. Nebolo miesto, kde utekať. My sme nemali miesto, kde utekať. Pretože to bolo všade. Is where there was that violent shaking, and then the explosion over the roof. When we came out, when we saw the roof explode, either an explosive, and then we are running to the next building, and then meeting all the shattered glass, and the stones, and everything, everybody's running. Then realize the next building is also shaking. A sme si uvedomili, že aj ďalšia budova sa trasie. Takže to je veľmi veľká situácia. Súženia. Biblia hovorí veľmi jasne o súžení tejto hodiny. Ja som videl ľudí, ako utekali. Vidím mimoriadnu situáciu na ľudia, ale nebolo kde utekať. Budova explodovala. Strecha explodovala a obrovský dom ďalšie budovy sa utekali sme ku ďalšej, ale tiež sa chystala explodovať. Toto je to súženie, o ktorom hovorí Daniel 1. Bude súženie, aké ešte nebolo od začiatku národov. Daniel 12.1 až 3. Pán tu hovorí o vytrhnutie cirkvi a príchode Mesiáša, keď on príde zobrať cirkev. Pán hovorí, tu bude predtým ohromné súženie. 24-21. Matúšovi 24. Takže toto sú znaky, že Mesiáš prichádza. Tým, že miloval cirkev, Ježiš dal. On dával tajomstvo svojho príchodu. O tomto súžení. Takže nech sa každý pripraví na príchod Mesiáša. Znova Pán ma zobral o jednej dnes. Zobral ma na miesto, boli sme na budove. Vidím, že tam ľudia sedeli, hovorili. Vyzerá to ako komplex budov. Zrazu náhle sme začali utekať. Každý utekal, kričal, zemetrasenie, budovy sa triasli a kolabovali. Potom tam bola obrovská explózia skrze strechu. My sme sa strachovali ísť do ďalšej budovy, pretože sklá a steny padali. My sme chceli ísť do ďalšie, ale tiež sa chystala explodovať. Takže toto je obrovské súženie tejto hodiny Mesiáš prichádza. Tí, ktorí sú múdri, budú stále činiť pokánie a budú pripravení, pretože nikto nevie deň ani hodinu, kedy Mesiáš prichádza. Táto zem je dočasná. Toto je dočasné miesto. Vaše miesto je v nebi, vaše občianstvo je v nebi. Lepšie sa pripraviť pre nebo. Teraz Pán čistí srdcia ľudí a pripravuje na príchod Mesiáša. Teda šalom, nech vás Pán žehná. A konečne prišiel 4. august 2020. Toto šokujúce proroctvo bolo presne naplnené. Keď smrteľná explózia sa stala v Bejrúte v Libanone, ako to bolo zachytené na kamere.
البداية يا عطرة انفجار نووي.
It's okay, baby. It's okay.
What? What? شو هاد؟ لا هيدا كثير هيدا. لا هلا اللي طلع كان خفيف الاول. فرقعت نارين. واو. الله اكبر. الله اكبر.
An earth-shaking blast tore through Beirut on Tuesday, killing dozens and injuring thousands, officials said. The blast, caught on video by those nearby, occurred at the site of a burning fire near the port in the Lebanese capital, throwing people miles away onto their backs, ripping balconies off buildings and sending glass flying, witnesses said.
We heard the first explosion and went to see what happened. I didn't have time. I didn't realize there would be a second explosion. The glass exploded in front of me.
We were at home. We heard what sounded like fireworks. We thought it was a container in the port that was on fire and they weren't able to put it out. A few seconds later, we were flying through the air.
The explosion, described by many as intense as an earthquake, could even be heard and felt as far away as Cyprus. While no group has claimed responsibility for the blast and Israel has denied involvement, Lebanese Prime Minister Hassan Diab swiftly demanded accountability for what he called a catastrophe.
Those responsible will pay the price for what happened. This is a promise to the martyrs and to the wounded. This is a national commitment. The facts will be revealed about this dangerous warehouse that has been there since 2014.
Lebanon's interior minister said initial information indicated highly explosive material seized years ago that had been stored at the port had blown up. The minister told an Arabic TV station ammonium nitrate had been in storage there since 2014. Reuters video journalists captured scenes from the aftermath, residents scrambling to drive the injured to nearby hospitals, already overwhelmed with victims. It was not immediately clear what caused the initial blaze on Tuesday that set off the blast. The site of the explosion could be seen burning and smoldering as night fell, with the death toll expected to rise.
Good afternoon. We have breaking news of a major explosion in the city of Beirut, Lebanon. Here's a live look at the smoke over that city right now. The explosion happened in the city's port area, but the blast appears to have done damage throughout the city. The Lebanese health minister says that there are many injuries and describes the damage as extensive.
A massive explosion has torn through the Lebanese capital, Beirut, killing at least 70 people and injuring more than 3,700. The huge blast at the port sent shockwaves across the city, destroying many buildings and blowing out windows several miles away. Hospitals across the city were quickly overwhelmed. Officials fear the death toll will rise sharply.
Extraordinary images tonight of deadly explosions felt by millions in Lebanon. Blasts that shook a city and injured thousands. This was the first, coming just after 6 in the evening at Beirut's main port, sending up a plume of thick smoke. Beneath it, fires raging and flashes of light, filmed by nearby residents. None of them could have guessed what would happen next. A second massive explosion that some described as like an earthquake. A mushroom cloud of debris and seawater blasted into the air. The detonation was heard 200 miles away in at least 2 other countries.
I saw something flash and I couldn't hear anymore. It was raining glass all over the city of Beirut.
On the ground, dozens lay dead. Lebanon's health minister says almost 3,000 people have been injured. The port area destroyed. But what caused it? Officials tonight say a warehouse has for years been filled with dangerous explosive chemicals. Warnings about the dangers, they say, ignored. Beirut, so often a battleground in war, resembling
a massive blast in the Lebanese capital of Beirut that sparked an enormous mushroom cloud has killed scores and injured thousands of people. The explosion transformed the city's port area into a wasteland, leveling buildings and cars. The U.S. Geological Survey says the blast created seismic waves similar to a magnitude 3.3 earthquake.
A huge explosion at a port in central Beirut rocked Lebanon's capital on Tuesday evening local time, killing at least 70 people. According to Lebanon's health minister, more than 2,700 people were injured and the death toll is expected to rise. Followed by a huge mushroom cloud, the explosion emitted powerful shockwaves across the city, destroying buildings and shattering windows in different parts of Beirut. The Lebanese prime minister described the explosion, which also damaged prime minister's headquarters, as a catastrophe.
What happened today won't pass without count. This is a national commitment. Facts will be revealed about this dangerous warehouse that has been there since 2014.
The exact cause of the blast is not yet clear, but Lebanon's interior security chief said ammonium nitrate, which is highly explosive, may have been stored in a warehouse at the port. Also, the country's news agency reported a major fire broke out at the port depot before the blast, and firefighting crew had rushed to the scene to try and put it out. A White House official says President Trump has been briefed on the explosion, and the White House and U.S. State Department are continuing to closely monitor the situation. The U.S. Embassy in Beirut urged people in the affected area to wear masks if available, as there have been reports of toxic gas releases from the blast.
CNN breaking news.
Oh my God.
There was a massive explosion. I mean, something that really shook this city like I've never seen before. And I've been through wars here in Lebanon, and this is something unheard of.
Let's get straight to it with our Ben Wiedemann, who's standing by at the Bureau, which has also not escaped the aftershocks. Ben.
That explosion, Christian, happened just a few minutes after 6 p.m. local time. That's about 3 hours ago. I was in the CNN bureau here in downtown Beirut.
Neočakávali druhý výbuch.
Like an earthquake, but just moments later, these windows were completely blown out. The frames
Vyzeralo to ako zemetrasenie, všetko padalo, skla, múry, steny,
replicated throughout the city. I've spoken with people all over this town
Všade
by
som
phone,
hovoril
and they
s
all
ľuďmi
say
v
the
tomto
same thing. This
meste.
is an explosion the size of which
Toto
many
je
who have been through the civil
taká
war, through the
obrovská
2006
explózia.
Lebanon-Israel war, never have seen an explosion of
Nikdy
this
sme nevideli takúto
magnitude. The hospitals here in
explóziu,
Beirut are
takú
overwhelmed
obrovskú.
with the injured. The Hotel Dieu tells us that they have accepted at least 400 injured. Another hospital getting at least 60, and that's just 2 hospitals. The Lebanese Red Cross has called for all its ambulances
do hotela Chytro vyviedli 400 ranených. Nemocnice sú zaplavené.
Immediately to help with taking the injured to get treatment. Eyewitnesses are telling me that they saw people being treated on the street, others being given CPR on the sidewalk. There is no part of this city where damage has not occurred.
Žiadna časť tohto mesta Bejruta nebola, ktorá by nebola zasiahnutá. Je to obrovská deštrukcia. Fatálna udalosť. Toto bude veľmi významné tiež aj v číslach.
From CNN World News headquarters here in Atlanta. So we begin with this breaking news out of Beirut, Lebanon, where the Prime Minister is pointing to a warehouse full of ammonium nitrate as the likely cause of this huge explosion. Just devastating images there out of Beirut. We know the blast killed at least 78 people and wounded more than 4,000 others. Both of those numbers are sure to rise as officials say many people are still missing. Well, the Prime Minister has declared a national day of mourning in the country and is promising a thorough investigation.
It felt like an earthquake and it looked
Cítili
like a
ľudia ako
mushroom
zemetrasenie
cloud.
a explózia vznikla, vyzeralo to ako oblak hríb.
150 miles away.
Takisto sa cítili ľudia aj na Cypre.
With widespread destruction stretching for miles from the epicenter near Beirut
Desiatky kilometrov
Firefighters and emergency workers rushed to the scene, one that the city's governor Marwan Aboud described as resembling
Aj vo vzdialenosti 10 kilometrov tiež oční svedkovia hovoria, že boli poškodené budovy. Takejto obrovskej vzdialenosti. Ľudia prichádzali aj darovať krv. Tisíce v prichádzajúcich hodinách sa bude dvíhať číslo mŕtvych, tisíce ľudí je ranených.
The head of Lebanese security said the explosion happened at the site of confiscated high explosive materials.
To bolo vysoko výbušný materiál, ktorý mali uskladnený roky už skladne.
That a shipment of an estimated 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate was stored in a warehouse near the port for 6 years. That is the country launched
Viacej ako 6 rokov mali uskladnený vysoko výbušný chemický materiál v tom sklade. Proroctvo naplnené, ktoré bolo dané 4. februára v roku 2013 a naplnené 4. augusta v roku 2020. Presne do detailu sa naplnilo, čo hovorili dvaja najmocnejší proroci nášho Boha, presne do detailu. Ešte predtým, než ten sklad bol vybudovaný v roku 2013.
مدان هون واصله What? Bro!
In videos posted online, a huge fire can be seen burning in the port. Then, a large explosion. A massive mushroom-like cloud and a shockwave, causing a powerful blast. Balconies were blown off buildings. Glass shattered everywhere. I don't know what happened, said this man who was fishing at the time. I heard there was a fire. I turned to head home and heard something explode. Across the city, witnesses, including this Canadian visiting Beirut, said they have never felt anything like it.
Tento Kanaďan, ktorý bol na návšteve Beirutu, hovorí, že nikdy také niečo necítil.
You were almost like breathless. It was like a breathless, horrible experience.
Rescue teams continue to search for people trapped in the rubble. Officials are blaming the blast on highly explosive material stored in the port. 2,750 tons of ammonium nitrate, seized 6 years ago and stored there since. The Prime Minister says that's unacceptable. I promise you this crisis will not go unpunished, he says, and called the explosion a catastrophe. Tomorrow the grief will be marked with the first of two national days of mourning. Renee Filipponi, CBC News, London.
An explosion rocked Beirut, Lebanon, sending a terrifying dark cloud of smoke into the air above the city.
Z toho vznikol strašný tmavý oblak nad celým mestom. Všetky nemocnice boli zaplavené ranenými.
Buildings were also destroyed, as were cars, and the streets became coated in a thick dust.
Ulice sú pokryté hustým prachom.
Horror and confusion as they waited for answers as to what had just happened.
Čakajú na odpoveď, čo sa vlastne stalo.
Hello again, this is the news hour from Al Jazeera. Adrian Finnegan here in Doha. There's been a large explosion in Lebanon's capital, Beirut, within the last hour. Let's show you some latest pictures. It's clear that there was a massive explosion, as you can see. We're not quite sure yet as to what has caused this explosion. But if you can see the pictures of the neighborhood now in which this explosion happened, you can see that it's caused widespread damage. We have no information yet as to how many casualties there might have been. It's clear, though, that something has caused a very large explosion in Lebanon's capital within the last hour. Al Jazeera's Zaina Hoda is in Beirut. and is on the line for us now. Zaina, you must have heard this explosion.
Rozpráva s redaktorkou, ktorá je v Bejrute. Ja som nie iba počula, ale ja som to aj cítila. To bol šok. Ja som nikdy necítila takú masívnu explóziu. Všade po okolí boli sklá, lietali sklá. Ľudia utekali ránení. Chaos bol na uliciach. Ja som v tom momente bola 5 z tohoto miesta mimo.
It was a massive explosion.
To bola masívna explózia.
Another view from the bay.
Ďalší pohľad zo zálivu.
And from the streets.
A z ulice.
Oh my... Oh my God.
It looks as if dozens are dead and several thousand injured.
Niekoľko tisíc zranených.
And a country already deep in crisis has been hit by a catastrophe.
Krajina, ktorá bola v hlbokej kríze, teraz sa ocitla vo veľkej katastrofe. Ja som práve bol na rybách. Ja neviem, čo sa stalo. Neviem to vysvetliť.
This was the fire in Beirut port. The flashes, they say, were fireworks. Then something much bigger ignited.
Najprv bol oheň a potom niečo oveľa väčšie prišlo a obrovská explózia.
Lebanon's interior minister told local media it was ammonium nitrate, which had been stored there since 2014. It can be used as fertilizer or to make explosives. This is downtown Beirut, close to the Parliament
building. Since
the end of last year, Lebanon has been paralyzed by a political and economic crisis and street demonstrations before the country was gripped by the pandemic. The damage has spread across the city.
Krajina bola zasiahnutá pandémiou, čiže sa dostala do ekonomickej krízy. A teraz sa dostala do takejto tragickej situácie.
Hassan Diab, the Prime Minister, broadcast to the nation. He told them that those responsible would pay the price.
Vedúci vlády povedal, že tí ministri, ktorí sú zodpovední, budú platiť cenu. Nemocnice boli zaplavené už s koronavírusom. My sme boli doma a počuli sme, my sme si mysleli, že nejaký oheň. A potom zrazu, ako keby sme lietali cez vzduch.
Let's recap our breaking news this evening. There has been a huge explosion in the Lebanese capital, Beirut. The blast happened in the port around 2 hours ago. It rocked the whole city. It shattered windows over a large area. Many people thought there'd been an earthquake. In fact, hospitals are said to be overwhelmed by casualties. Some reports talking of as many as 500 people being injured. Firefighters are tackling numerous blazes, and eyewitnesses say that balconies collapsed. People were left trapped under the rubble. Government officials are saying a very high number of people have been injured, and it's feared there'll be a high death toll as well. A BBC producer in Beirut has been speaking of massive devastation at the port of Beirut, with bodies everywhere, shipping containers mashed and overturned. It isn't yet known what caused the explosion, which was felt across the city and could be heard for miles around. Well, these are live pictures now of the aftermath of those two separate explosions. Let's get this report now from our correspondent James Robbins.
A massive explosion sent shockwaves tearing through the Lebanese capital. The blast happened in the port area. It looks as if the first explosion was followed by another, much larger one, which swept through many nearby buildings.
najmocnejší proroci Pána opísali presné detaily explózie. Sedem rokov predtým, než sa to stalo.
I see a very huge explosion.
Ja vidím veľmi obrovskú explóziu.
There's going to be a very huge explosion.
Prichádza veľmi obrovská explózia a ja vidím. Pán mi ukázal v tom sne obrovskú explóziu a v tom sne ja som videl tmavý oblak dymu
and that cloud comes billows into the sky.
A vyžarovala hore, siahal hore pod oblohu a pokrýval ten oblok veľmi obrovskú oblasť. Vyzerá to, že chemické zbrane alebo chemikálie idú vybuchnúť znova. Pán hovoril so mnou vo sne minulú noc. Bude obrovská explózia. A tam je tmavý čierny dym z tejto explózie, chemikálie a dym bude vychádzať do vzduchu. Budú chemické zbranie alebo chemikálie do vzduchu, vybuchnú do vzduchu. Pán mi ukázal tmavý dym, veľmi, veľmi tmavý. Vyzerá to ako z chemikálií. A potom bude to obrovská explózia, ktorá vytvorí obrovský oblak tmavého oblaku, ktorý bude vyžarovať do vzduchu.
Leaving towering plumes of smoke rising hundreds of meters into the sky. It was a blast so powerful, the shock wave shook buildings and shattered windows far distant across the city of Beirut. The destruction is on a scale to match, centered, according to witnesses, on the port area. Cars tossed across the highway. Local security sources report many injured and a number dead amid the smoke and debris, and there are fears of others trapped inside the rubble of collapsed buildings.
Vidíme, že proroctvo Pána bolo presne do detailov úplne naplnené.
من هو انفجار هذا صاروخ لك القتلة بالارض حفرجيكم القتلة بعد ما حدا نقرر عليهم.
Jesus, you're...
Prišiel 12. december 2012. A historický deň, keď najmocnejší proroci Pána sa postavili pred národmi zeme a povolali Boha Otca v nebi, aby prišiel dole v jeho hustom tmavom oblaku jeho slávy.
This previous night,
Túto minulú
the Lord
noc
spoke with me about
Pán
the
hovoril so
nation of
mnou
Israel,
o národe Izraela.
and it was a very relentless conversation that went on until this morning. And in that conversation, the Lord lifted me up above Israel, and He showed me the state of Israel, the
Pán mi
nation of
ukázal
Israel,
národ Izraela
and He showed me all the borders of the state of Israel.
a on mi ukázal všetky hranice
And
Izraelu.
then Jehovah Elohim,
A potom Jehova Elohim,
Jehovah El Olam,
Jehova El Olam,
the God of Israel,
Boh Izraela.
He showed me the heavenly hosts that were released. And they stood on the borders of Israel. Every place where there is a border, there was like this, a lot of heavenly hosts. They
A bolo
were
tam množstvo
standing to
nebeských
guard
zástupov na
Israel.
hraniciach
They stood
Izraela
on every
a
inch of the
stali
border
na
of
každom
Israel,
inči
from north to south and
hranici
back,
Izraela.
from north all the way. They covered
Od
every
severu po
single
juh,
inch of the border was
východ,
covered by
západ.
somebody standing, a heavenly host. So I saw a lot of heavenly hosts. And they were
Vidím
moving.
množstvo
There was a
nebeských
movement.
zástupov,
It was
tam
not
bol
just
pohyb.
standing. They were
Tam nestali,
moving,
oni
they
sa
were moving
pohybovali.
back and forth
Oni sa pohybovali
by the borders of
dopredu,
Israel.
naspäť pri hraniciach
They
Izraela.
were moving with flaming swords.
Pohybovali sa s
Again,
plapolajúcimi
I saw
mečmi.
the heavenly hosts released, and I saw
Znova ja som
them
videl,
totally surround Israel, cover the borders of Israel, protect Israel.
ja som videl, ako
protect
chránili
everything of the
Izrael,
boundary of Israel.
ako
And then the
chránili.
voice of the Lord said,
A hlas
then
Pána
they shall
hovoril,
fear the God of Israel.
potom sa budú báť Boha
And
Izraela.
then after that, the Lord showed me also the glory, His glory,
Pán mi
that
ukázal
went
slavu, jeho
and
slavu.
covered Israel, again, covered the borders of Israel.
Pán
and
mi
the
ukázal,
heavenly hosts
ako
were standing there.
ochraňovali Izrael hranice, jeho sláva, ktorá pokrývala, ktorá pokrývala hranice, aby ochraňovali Izrael. Pán Boh neba, on, ktorý dozerá na Izrael, on si je vedomý, skrze čo Izrael prechádza. A to je to, čo Pán hovorí. Ja sám teraz budem ochraňovať mojich milovaných ľudí, národ Izraela, a bude poznané, že Izrael je centrom zeme. A toto sú môj zmluvný národ. A prišiel 4. december 2016, keď ISIS sa pokúšal zaútočiť na Izrael zo strany Sýrie, tieto hrozné slova týchto najmocnejších prorokov Izraela boli hrozne naplnené v svetom území Izraela. Keď Boh Otec Jehova Jahve sám zostúpil z neba, v najhroznejšom hustom oblaku jeho slávy. A začal sa pohybovať striktne po hraniciach Izraela. Aby ochraňoval hranice Izraela. Aby naplnil slova jeho najhroznejších prorokov. A izraelskí vojaci po prvýkrát položili ich zbranie a začali dozerať v úžase. Začali to zaznamenávať na ich kamery.